Close your eyes, and let's take a slow walk through the past together. Tonight, we're not visiting grand battles or powerful kings. Instead, we're stepping into quiet bedrooms, candlelit dressing tables, and hidden rituals, places where beauty was carefully crafted and sometimes painfully, dangerously pursued. For as long as there have been people, there have been standards of beauty. Soft skin, pale faces, tiny waists, delicate hands and feet. But behind those gentle words, there is often a much darker truth. Bones reshaped, skin poisoned, bodies bound and broken, all in the name of being seen as beautiful enough. In this journey, we'll drift across continents and centuries, through ancient courts, elegant salons, and sacred chambers, to explore the disturbing rituals people once endured to fit an ideal. We'll move slowly, gently, like a bedtime story, even as the details grow unsettling. As you listen, you don't need to remember dates, names, or places. Just let the stories wash over you like a soft, strange lullaby from long ago. And we'll begin our journey in China, where beauty once started with a girl, a ribbon, and a pair of very small shoes. Let's begin with the story of bound feet. We begin in China, many centuries ago. Imagine a small courtyard at dawn. The air is cool. A mother sits with her little daughter, no more than 5 or 6 years old. Today is an important day. Today, the girl's journey toward perfect feet will begin. In this world, tiny feet are not just seen as pretty. They are a symbol of good upbringing, of wealth, of marriageability. A girl with small, delicate feet might marry into a better family. A girl with large, untrained feet might be laughed at or quietly passed over. The process begins with something very simple: warm water. The mother, or sometimes a professional foot binder, gently washes the little girl's feet in a basin. The water is warm, almost comforting. Herbs might be added to soften the skin. To the child, it might even feel like a game at first, like a special spa day just for her. But the warmth is not just for comfort. It is to prepare the bones. One by one, the toenails are trimmed as short as possible to prevent them from digging into the flesh later on. Then, the true reshaping begins. The 4 small toes, everything except the big toe, are curled down underneath the sole of the foot. Pressure is applied. Sometimes, you might hear the faint crack of tiny bones giving way. The arch of the foot is pushed upward, forced to bend so that the front of the foot is pulled closer and closer to the heel. For an adult, this would be almost unbearable. For a child, the bones are softer, easier to bend. Long strips of cloth, often cotton, are then tightly wrapped around the foot. They start at the toes, pulling them down and under. The bandage winds around the arch, pulling the foot in on itself, making it shorter, narrower, and higher. Each loop tightens the shape a little more. The goal is something called the golden lotus, an ideal foot length of about 8 to 10 centimeters, just 3 or 4 inches. A foot so small, it seems almost unreal. At first, the girl might cry. She might try to pull away. She might not understand why this is happening, only that it hurts. But the adults around her reassure her softly. They tell her it is for her future. They tell her it is for beauty. They tell her that all respectable girls go through this. The bandages are tied off, and she is asked to stand. The first steps are agony. Bones that were meant to support weight are now crushed and folded. The body tries to balance on a shape it was never designed to rest on. But she is encouraged to walk, slowly, because walking will help the bones set into their new, deformed position. This is not a one-time ritual. It is a long, ongoing process. Every few days or every week, the bandages are removed. The feet are washed, inspected, and then bound again, often even tighter than before. Any places where the skin has broken are cleaned as best they can be. Sometimes, flesh begins to rot. Toes may darken from lack of blood flow. Infections spread quietly under the wraps. Some girls lose toes along the way. Some lose the entire foot. But the bindings continue. Years pass. The girl grows taller, older, but her feet remain tiny, trapped in permanent childhood. She learns to walk with small, swaying steps, her balance shifted, her gait altered forever. In time, she may even come to think of her strange walk as graceful, because that is what she has been told. From the outside, the result is praised. Shoes made for bound feet are embroidered with silk and gold thread. They are displayed almost like jewelry, delicate, colorful, hiding what lies inside. Men write poems about lotus feet, comparing the tiny prints they leave in the dust to blossoms scattered by the wind. The pain, the infections, the broken bones, all of that is kept out of sight. Inside the shoe, though, the reality is very different. The arch is unnaturally high. The toes are folded under the sole. The foot is misshapen, swollen, often scarred. Walking is difficult. Running is nearly impossible. Many women with bound feet depend heavily on others to help them move, to help with household tasks, even to simply get across a room without falling. In a way, the beauty ideal does something very powerful. It makes the body both admired and controlled. For the families who practiced it, foot binding became more than a fashion. It was a tradition, passed from mother to daughter, grandmother to grandchild. Some women who had endured the pain themselves later oversaw the binding of their own daughters' feet, believing it was the only way to protect them in a society that demanded small, delicate steps. Others quietly regretted it, even as they participated. Over the centuries, voices began to question this practice more loudly. Reformers, doctors, and eventually government officials argued that it was cruel, unnecessary, and harmful. Campaigns were launched to end it, but like many beauty rituals, it did not disappear overnight. It lingered, especially in rural areas, for decades, even into the early 20th century. For nearly 1,000 years, the idea of beauty in this part of the world included something that for many of us today is almost impossible to comprehend. A lifetime of altered bones, constant discomfort, and fragile, painful steps. As you picture those tiny embroidered shoes resting neatly by a bed, you can imagine the woman who wore them slowly lying down, relieved to be off her feet at last. Every beautiful shoe hid a story of pressure, of expectation, of sacrifice. And all of it began with a child, a bowl of warm water, and the belief that her natural body was not small or perfect enough. Take a slow breath in and let that image drift away for a moment. Because our journey through disturbing beauty rituals is only just beginning. Next, we'll travel to another world of pale faces and powdered skin, where beauty came from something far more dangerous than silk or ribbon. From tiny, hidden feet, let's drift now to quiet rooms and painted faces in Japan, and a very different kind of beauty ritual. This one doesn't reshape the bones, it changes the smile. For many centuries, in aristocratic and samurai families, there was a practice called Ohaguro, the blackening of the teeth. Imagine a young woman sitting in front of a small mirror. Her hair is arranged carefully. Her kimono is perfect. On the table beside her is a small bowl holding a dark, shiny liquid. This is her tooth blackening mixture. It's made from iron filings soaked in vinegar until they rust, then mixed with things like tea or sake to soften the taste. The smell is metallic, sour, a little bitter. Not exactly pleasant, but this is part of her daily or regular routine, as normal as brushing your teeth is for many of us. She dips a small brush or cloth into the liquid and slowly paints it onto her teeth. Layer after layer, the color deepens. At first, the teeth might look gray, then brown, and finally, a glossy, inky black. The mixture seeps into the tiny pores of the enamel, staining them permanently over time. To us, it might sound eerie. To her world, it is beautiful. In certain periods, blackened teeth were a sign of adulthood and refinement. For women, it often marked marriage, an outward symbol that she was no longer a child, but a respectable wife. For members of samurai families and the courtly elite, it could signal loyalty, status, and discipline. A bright white smile, which many people praise today, could actually be seen as childish or even improper. So when she smiles, the teeth you see are not neglected or rotten. They are carefully maintained, polished, protected with this dark, gleaming coat. People might even compliment the depth of the black, the shine, the evenness of the color. The staining is, in many cases, long-lasting, even permanent. Once you commit to Ohaguro, there is no easy way back to your natural teeth. And like so many beauty rituals, there is pressure attached. If you are a married woman of status, showing unblackened teeth could be seen as inappropriate, rebellious, or shameful. Not doing it might raise questions. Are you refusing your role? Are you disrespecting tradition? Are you trying to appear younger than you are? So day after day, women and some men painted their smiles darker and darker, until the idea of bare white teeth felt almost as strange to them as black teeth might feel to us. In portraits and paintings, these darkened teeth appear as quiet symbols of maturity, of commitment, of belonging to a certain world. Behind them, though, are people who perhaps never truly knew what their own natural smile looked like once they came of age. You can picture her now, finishing the ritual, setting down the brush, closing her lips, and hiding the sharp glint of black behind a soft, composed expression. The transformation is complete, at least until the next time the color needs to be renewed. Another beauty standard met. Another part of the body given over to tradition. As we drift onward, let that darkened smile fade gently in your mind, because our journey through unsettling beauty is about to turn toward powders, paints, and something far more poisonous, resting quietly on the skin. From darkened smiles in Japan, let's drift now to powdery rooms filled with candlelight and faces that look almost like ghosts. For this part of our journey, we'll step into the world of lead-based cosmetics. Imagine a grand house in Europe a few centuries ago. The air is faintly sweet with perfume and just a little dusty with powder. A woman sits near a window, pale morning light falling across her face. On the table in front of her is a small jar filled with something soft and white. To her, this isn't poison, it's beauty. The mixture is made from lead, ground, processed, and turned into a fine white powder or paste. Sometimes it's mixed with vinegar, sometimes with a little water or perfume, until it becomes smooth and spreadable. When she first dips her fingers into it, it feels cool, silky, almost luxurious. She brings it to her face and begins to apply. Slowly, gently, she covers her natural skin tone with this artificial whiteness. The goal is a flawless porcelain surface. No freckles, no redness, no visible pores. A face that looks untouched by the sun, untouched by labor, untouched by the messy realities of ordinary life. In her society, pale skin is more than just a preference. It is a message. It says, I do not work outdoors. I am wealthy. I am refined. I am above the fields and the factories and the crowded streets. So she smooths the lead-based paint over her cheeks, her forehead, even her neck and chest. Any lines or blemishes are simply erased. A new face takes shape, one that looks smooth and youthful, even if the person beneath the powder is tired or ill or aging. But the perfection comes with a cost, one she cannot yet see. At first, the changes are easy to hide. A little dryness here, some redness there, perhaps a small rash or a patch that doesn't seem to heal. No matter, she has more powder. If anything, the worse her bare skin looks, the more she feels she needs the makeup. Dark circles? Cover them. Rough texture? Smooth it out with another layer. The lead slowly creates the very problems she is trying to fix. And the solution, in her mind, is simply to use more of it. Day after day, year after year, the damage deepens. Hair might start to thin. Teeth may loosen. The skin beneath the powder can become sallow, grayish, strangely fragile. Some people develop tremors, weakness, confusion. But in a world where many illnesses are mysterious, it's hard to see the true culprit hiding in plain sight on the dressing table. And she is not alone. Men use it too. Nobles, courtiers, anyone who wants to present a fashionable, elegant face. Portraits from the time show rows of pale, powdered figures, all sharing that same unnatural whiteness. What we see as eerie, they often saw as ideal. There are whispers, of course, stories of someone who became terribly sick, whose skin seemed to rot beneath the powder, whose beauty faded far too quickly. But when a standard is so deeply woven into a culture, it is hard to step away from it. To appear in public with your natural, unpainted skin might feel embarrassing, even risky. So the ritual continues. She rises in the morning, washes as best she can, and then paints the mask back on. In the evening, perhaps she tries to remove it gently, but traces remain in the pores, in the tiny lines around her eyes, along the curve of her jaw. Little by little, the boundary between the cosmetic and the body disappears. What makes this ritual so quietly disturbing is not just the poison itself, but the way it turns against the person who uses it, while convincing them they cannot live without it. The mirror shows them two faces, the one the world loves, and the one they've been taught to hide. You can picture her now, candlelight flickering as she leans close to the glass, touching up one last pale spot on her cheek. From a distance, she looks perfect, smooth, bright, impossibly pure. Up close, just beneath that thin white shell, the harm is spreading. As you breathe slowly in and out, let that powdered face drift back into the shadows of history for a moment. These beauty rituals, scattered across time and place, all share something in common: the body being shaped, stained, or slowly poisoned to fit an idea. Now, if we step back in time even further, this pale, painted ideal didn't begin in those candlelit European rooms. Variations of white lead cosmetics, ceruse, were used from ancient Greece and Rome, through the Renaissance, and into the Elizabethan era. For centuries, people reached for that same soft, deadly whiteness. By the time we reach Elizabeth I, the look has become iconic. You can picture her now: high collar, bright red hair, and a face so pale it seems almost carved from wax. Heavy layers of ceruse create a smooth, mask-like surface, hiding smallpox scars, age, and exhaustion beneath a shining white shell. But ceruse does not only bruise the surface. Beneath the powder, skin can break into sores, then scarring. Hair may fall away from the temples, brows thin. Over years, the absorbed lead can begin to touch the organs themselves, slowly poisoning the body from the inside, straining the kidneys. The more necessary that mask of health and purity could feel. Now, let's move from the face to the eyes. Belladonna eye drops. In parts of Europe, another plant joined the beauty ritual. Its name in Italian means beautiful woman. You might know it as belladonna, or deadly nightshade. In the quiet of a chamber, a woman leans over a small vial. Inside is a liquid made from this dark, glossy berried plant. With almost ritual care, she tilts her head back. and lets a drop fall into each eye. Within moments, the pupils begin to dilate, widening into dark pools that catch the candlelight. To the people around her, those large, shining pupils look soft, dreamy, romantic. Wide pupils can signal interest, attraction, and inner warmth. In a culture where subtle glances matter, eyes like this can seem irresistibly alluring. But the plant's beauty comes with a quiet price. As the pupils stay open, the world may begin to blur at the edges. Bright light stings. She may feel dizzy, a little unsteady on her feet. Prolonged use can cause long-term eye damage, straining the muscles, clouding the vision, leaving the world permanently hazier than before. All for eyes that look, for a brief moment, a little more enchanting. So in these European rooms, beauty often leaned toward the fragile. Pale faces, thinned hair, unfocused eyes, skin touched by poison, sight softened by toxic drops. And yet, these signs of weakness, of sickness, could be read as delicate, noble, even desirable. To look a little unwell, to seem easily tired, easily broken, could whisper of refinement, privilege, a life protected from roughness. As you breathe slowly, in and out, you might let a gentle question float through your mind. How fragile would you be willing to look to be called beautiful? Let that question linger in the dark for a moment, because next we'll travel further back, where beauty could be sacred and just a little bit gross. Imagine a villa near the Nile, or a quiet courtyard in Greece or Rome. An elite woman reclines while an attendant brings out a small bowl, and inside is something that smells less than luxurious. Crocodile dung. In some circles among Egyptian, Greek, and Roman elites, crocodile droppings were mixed into special beauty masks. The dung might be blended with mud from the river, or milk, or fragrant oils, until it formed a soft, spreadable paste. To us, this sounds purely disgusting, but to them, it could be a status symbol. You needed access to crocodiles, to servants, to time for these long, messy rituals. You also needed a certain belief that powerful animals carried powerful properties. If a creature was fierce, ancient, and respected, perhaps a little of its strength, its fertility, its strange, timeless energy could be borrowed through the skin. So the mask, cool and damp, a little gritty. It dries slowly in the heat, tightening the skin. Perhaps there is laughter. Perhaps there is gossip. Perhaps there is only silence and the buzz of insects in the sun. But beneath the superstition and luxury, there is a quieter risk. Animal dung can carry bacteria, tiny unseen organisms that thrive in warmth and moisture. Pressed into pores, left on small cuts or irritations, they can cause infections, redness, swelling, fever. A ritual meant to preserve youth and beauty could in some cases leave the skin inflamed, sore, and marked. Sacred in their minds, gross in ours, and just a little dangerous all along. Now let's follow the road to ancient Rome. In Roman culture, especially among the upper classes, a body with little or no visible hair could be seen as refined, civilized, desirable. To chase this smoothness, they turned to depilatories, substances meant to strip hair from the. An attendant might prepare a thick, sticky paste from resin, pitch, or even birdlime, a glue-like substance once used to trap small birds. This paste would be warmed until it softened, then spread in a thin layer across the skin, on the legs, the arms, perhaps more intimate places. For a moment, it clings. Hair embeds itself in the tacky mixture. The smell is sharp, a bit smoky, a bit tar-like. Then, with one swift motion, the paste is ripped away. Hair comes with it. But so might tiny bits of skin, leaving a trail of redness, small welts, a sting that lingers like fire. Some mixtures were harsh enough to cause chemical burns, angry patches of blistered or peeling skin. Used again and again, these treatments could leave lasting damage, scarring, darkened patches, or skin that became more sensitive over time. Yet for many, the pain was simply part of the ritual, a private, accepted cost for a body that looked smooth. The Romans believed they were polishing themselves into ideal forms, even as their bodies quietly protested. Now, let's turn back to the face, to the eyes and the glow of the skin. In various parts of the ancient Mediterranean, people began to experiment with materials that shimmered and shone in a way ordinary clays and oils did not. One of those materials was mercury. Mercury, in certain compounds, found its way into some skin lighteners and pastes. It could make the skin appear bright, smooth, and almost luminous, a kind of glow that seemed otherworldly. And along the Nile, Kohl was believed to offer protection from the harsh sun, from infection, even from the evil eye, the idea that harmful intentions could be carried in a glance. To wear Kohl could be both magical and practical, beauty and protection in a single stroke. But within these substances, mercury and lead quietly waited. Over time, repeated use meant these metals could seep into the body, through delicate skin, through the thin tissues around the eyes. Mercury can affect the nervous system, causing tremors, mood changes, weakness. Lead can cloud thinking, harm organs, and slowly disturb the body's most basic functions. So the same pastes that promised to ward off harm and enhance beauty were little by little introducing a different kind of danger. The twist is almost poetic. They believed in protection from spirits, from sunlight, from sickness, and yet their shield was made in part from substances that could slow, a charm around the eyes that might, across years, make those same eyes dimmer, the body more tired, the mind less clear. In these ancient worlds along the Nile and the Mediterranean, beauty was not just surface deep. It was tangled with magic, with status, with ideas of purity, strength, and protection. Crocodile dung masks, sticky depilatory pastes, mercury and Kohl around watchful eyes. To their users, these were powerful rituals. To us, they are strangely intimate glimpses into how far people have always been willing to go in the name of being seen as beautiful, as blessed, as safe. Far from Europe's powders and poisons, in the ancient Maya world, beauty took a very different shape. Imagine sitting on a low stone stool, the warm air thick with incense, and someone leaning close with a small, sharp tool. Among some Maya, teeth were carefully filed into points or precise shapes. No numbness, no modern dentistry, just steady hands and the sound of scraping. For some, the transformation went even further. Craftspeople drilled tiny holes into the front of the teeth, then set in jade, turquoise, or other precious stones, glimmering inlays that caught the light when they smiled. These weren't random decorations. They carried deep symbolism. Jade and turquoise could mean status, spiritual power, connection to the gods, to the earth, to the sacred. A beautiful mouth wasn't just attractive. It could be a sign that you were important, protected, or especially favored. But changing the teeth comes with quiet costs. Filing the enamel exposes the sensitive inner layers, making teeth more vulnerable to pain, to temperature, to pressure. Drilling can open pathways for infection deep within the tooth, places that are hard to clean, where bacteria can linger and grow. So a single radiant smile might carry both pride and discomfort, a small ache hidden behind the glitter of stone. Now we move forward in time to the 19th century in Europe and the United States. In shop windows and quiet parlors, a new kind of beauty product appears. Little tablets, sometimes called complexion wafers. Pretty, delicate, and laced with arsenic. The promise, printed or whispered, was simple. Eat these, and your skin will become paler, smoother, more even. A soft, almost translucent glow. The kind that suggested delicacy, refinement, a life untouched by hard labor or sun. So some people did something almost unthinkable today. They literally ate poison for beauty. They swallowed small doses of arsenic, trusting that just a little wouldn't hurt too much, that it might even help. But arsenic doesn't care about vanity. Over time, it can cause nausea. Hair may begin to thin and fall out. The body weakens. In higher or prolonged doses, arsenic can quietly damage organs, disrupt the heart, and, in extreme cases, lead to death. Yet, for some, the fear of not being beautiful felt more immediate than the fear of an invisible, creeping poison. From pointed teeth set with jewels to wafers that slowly sickened the body. The forms change, but the willingness to suffer for beauty remains hauntingly familiar. As we step back from all these stories, from bound feet and blackened teeth, from crocodile masks and lead-white faces, from belladonna eyes and arsenic wafers, a pattern begins to settle like dust in the air. Across centuries and continents, one idea rises again and again, soft but insistent. From bound feet to poisoned skin, one idea echoes through time, that beauty must hurt. Hurt the body, hurt the mind. But here in the quiet of your room, with your eyes growing heavier, we can let another idea in. You are lying here, breathing slowly, doing nothing painful, nothing extreme, and yet you are still, undeniably, you. So let's gently turn away from all those rituals, all those old demands and whispered rules. Tonight, as you fall asleep, remember, your worth is not measured in inches, or shades of pale, or how much you can endure. not by how small your shoes are, or how smooth your skin is, or how closely you match someone else's idea of what is lovely. Your worth lives in quieter places, in your thoughts, your kindness, your curiosity about strange old stories. Even in the simple act of giving yourself this time to rest. Feel your body sinking a little deeper into the mattress or the couch beneath you. Notice the weight of your blankets, the rhythm of your breathing. The people in our stories tonight twisted, painted, poisoned, and reshaped themselves, hoping it would make them more lovable, more accepted, more safe. You don't have to do any of that right now. All you have to do is be here in this moment while the past fades softly into the dark. If your mind wanders, let it drift over the images we've visited. Temple courtyards, quiet chambers, riverbanks, and then let them dissolve like smoke in the night air. You are safe. You are enough, exactly as you are breathing now. Thank you for wandering through history with me. Close your eyes now and rest well, sleepyhead.